Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whisky. My name's Vin PF, and on today's episode we're going to be covering another Jura. Now, after my original Jura video I did a couple of weeks ago, Whyte Mackay got in touch with me and wanted to see if I wanted to try a couple more of their expressions. Of course, I'm always willing to try new expressions and see what I really think of them, and they sent me the 7-wood and also the 18. Of course, this is the bottle right here. So yeah, this has been sent to me over by Whyte Mackay's for review. Let's get into the actual whiskey and see exactly what we've got here versus the other ones in the range. Of course, this is an 18-year-old. This one is aged in American white oak. It's ex-bourbon barrels. We don't know what version of fill that is. Of course, you get a kind of fresh oak, which you don't typically get a lot over in the UK because it's mostly bourbons. They send it over. Then you get your ex-bourbon. Then you get your kind of first fill. That's immediately after the bourbon. You get some scotch out of that. Then you'll get your refills after that. We don't know what level this is. It's then been finished in red wine casks. Why not, I guess. Of course, we know things like added colour, probably chill filtered. Now, I've always said this about colour. I'm not typically bothered about colour as long as I'm aware of it. That's my big issue with colour. Of course, in this case, I have to say, I am aware of it because right now, I don't know if it'll focus, but right in the bottom of there, I've got maybe a travel retail bottle that they've sent over to me. But this is a with the German on it, mit Farbstoff. So we know that is added colour, which is pretty handy. I wish that was on all bottles that had added colour. As I say, I reiterate, added colour doesn't typically bother me unless it's hidden and pretending that it's not. So in any case, 44%. This is fairly expensive. It's about £70 in the UK, but over the last year or so, I've been kind of working away from whether things are too expensive versus the value of a whiskey. So we'll get into that as we go along with this actual whiskey. Now, as you might know if you're subscribed to the channel, and if you're not, I would love it if this video has earned that subscription for you to click the button. That I don't typically get on with Jura much in the past. This new range is pretty good, I have to say. Overall, the kind of value of them is a little bit skewed, I have to say. There are good whiskies that are around the same sort of price that you can get over these. My favourite of the whole of Jura's has been the Superstition, and unfortunately they haven't replicated that in this new range. Hopefully that's something they're going to listen to, because I know that Whyte Mackay's are listening to these kind of reviews, that hopefully they're going to introduce something like that with a little bit more of a smoky element over the next few years. That would be lovely to see. Please do. But in any case, let's get into this one and see what we've actually got in the glass. Again, we know it's added colour, so we're not going to talk about it here. The whole range looks like this, no matter how long it's been aged for. Let's try the nose then. Okay, so we've got an interesting nose to start with, I think. It's obviously some vanillas in there. It's not kind of overbearing, so I'm going to assume this is at least second fill. Interestingly enough, there's some oranges for me in there. And weirdly, I'm picking up some kind of like iced tea. You know, the branded iced tea you can pick up off the shelf, which is really interesting. It's not a bad nose at all, I have to say. Let's try on the palate. Okay, so initial sensations, it's fairly spicy, kind of a peppery spice, a dash of kind of nutmeggy spice in there as well. Lots more vanilla, so kind of sweetness coming through. That drops off pretty quickly, I have to say, and that kind of tea vibe is coming back through. It's this kind of like iced tea. I know you can get different flavours of those iced tea. Kind of one of my initial thoughts was this kind of peach flavoured iced tea, but on the nose, yes. On the palate, not so much. Just like a standard iced tea. It's fairly kind of thin feeling. It's not particularly bold, I have to say. The finish is quite short. That said, you know, like, I'm going to be openly fair about this whiskey. It's not a bad tasting whiskey at all. My issue is probably, as always with Juras, is the kind of price point of these things. This is 70 quid, and it's a lot of money. Now, if you're a fan of Jura, then I think you're going to enjoy this, genuinely, because if you like the kind of earlier versions, you know, the earlier Juras, then you're going to enjoy something that's a bit more premium, let's say. But as has been pointed out on many reviews in the ether, that for the same amount of money, you can get something with a little bit more bold flavours. And I have to say, on a personal level, I am looking for these bold flavours. I'm looking for kind of high ABVs, and I'm looking for really bold bourbons and interesting cask finishes and that sort of thing. But I have to say, there's something to be said for a nice, chilled out, easy drinking whiskey. This certainly is that. If that's your bag and you're into kind of aged whiskies, you're into Juras, that sort of thing, I don't think you're going to be too disappointed if you're into the range. But you have to kind of bear all that in mind when you're looking at a purchase like this. That's probably the fairest thing to say, I have to say. I'm going to enjoy this bottle. I'm probably going to kind of divvy this out amongst friends. I'm thinking about kind of bottling up some samples and sending them out. I think I'll probably do this to a few people that I know. But I'm going to enjoy what's left of this. Would I buy it again for the same price? Probably not. I think this probably needs to be £10-15 cheaper to kind of entice people like me and probably a lot of people who are watching this. But again, to reiterate, if you're into Juras, you're probably going to like this. If you're not into your Juras, it's not going to kind of drag you over. I think if you went back and checked out a few of my other reviews, the Journey is probably the best priced out of all of them. And I think I mentioned on the Sevenwood review, especially if you're in the UK or some country where you can get internet kind of orders of whiskey, very frequently does this pop up on Amazon for a hell of a lot cheaper than the RRP. So it's worth keeping an eye on that to get a good deal. If this has piqued your interest in any way, shape or form, that's probably the way to go because you can get a good bargain and it's not too bad at that sort of price point.